Hi, everybody. This is Drew Tomlin with the Association for Middle Level Education, and I'm joined today on this hangout with Kelsey Eursery. And Kelsey is a special education teacher for the Archer Learning Center in Springdale, Arkansas. And so she not only does that, but of course, she's also the wonderful author of this article that you're checking out in AMLE magazine. So thank you, Kelsey, for spending some more time with us today to talk about this.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you shining a light on the subject, and we know that the school year has already started for you, so you already have students in your mind and in your heart right now. So again, we know your time is precious. So we're going to jump right to the first question, and that is differentiation for all students. Looking back at your own young adolescence, what kind of a learner were you, and what teacher really helped? I'm going to use a phrase from your article, unlock that desire in you.
Whenever I think back to my time in school, I never really struggled as a learner. Everything came easily. I was one of those students that at that time, a lot of stuff was the textbooks and the notes and the testing and the memorization, and I could do all that. And I think really when I got into college, one of my professors I had at Arkansas Tech, being able to take what I was learning and applying it to real world situations in the classroom is really where I saw the relevance to my learning, and really where that passion for personalization and differentiation really came out.
Okay. All right. Cool. School came easy for you a little bit then, huh?
It did. Yes.
Well, good for you.
But I know it doesn't for every student. So that's good.
So one of the things that you mentioned in your article for differentiation is the aspect of flexibility. Why is with teaching in the middle years in particular, and how do you support teachers as they develop the skill of flexibility?
I think flexibility is so important to all learners, and especially in those middle years when they are changing constantly, that we've got to meet the learners where they truly are. A lot of times teachers tend to find the middle ground of their students and think, I'll start here and everyone can meet me there. But really what they need to be learning is where are my students really at, and how can I meet them at their true need area? And once they're able to do that, is all about facilitating the learning that you want to occur. Not all teachers have developed that skill of flexibility, because quite honestly, I think it scares a lot of teachers, especially veteran teachers, who've been in the classroom for many years. And so the idea of flexibility is kind of scary to them. But I feel like once they become masters, not only the content, but the classroom management, then being able to have those routines down, then they're really going to be able to truly meet those learners where they're at.
Right. So it's not just being flexible with your content, but flexibility in terms, like you said, the behavioral management there. But yeah, and sometimes a veteran teacher can find flexibility more daunting than maybe a new teacher who might not have as many years under their belt, but maybe can be more flexible because of that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with wanting to give students their choice and student voice in the classroom. And in order to do that, you're going to have to kind of let go of your reins and really see where they are and let them take it.
Exactly. And you said let loose the reins. So you use lots of great metaphors. It's so you got, letting loose the reins, like learning is sometimes you just got to let it go, let the kids have that choice and voice. And then you use the metaphor of differentiation as an adventurous journey. I just feel like that's such a great thing. Some people feel like differentiation can be, it's some big daunting task. But, one aspect that intrigued me was about the mapping out of the journey. How can teachers best work with students when they get off the road of their learning and things just aren't going well?
Well, I think a lot of times whenever they're looking at where do I want my students to end up, and they're starting the process of getting them there, and the student takes a turn that they were not expecting or anticipating, then when they do that, it's not time to shut them down and get them right back on. It's you use that time as a learning opportunity, because that may be some knowledge or just foundational skills that are not present in that student until they kind of master those. Getting them back on the road, they're just going to immediately get back off.
Right, right. So it's like a pit stop, if you will.
Hmm.
But so like that kind of, so that's like that kind of reflection aspect. How important do you think it is to have to give students? It seems like something that isn't done a whole lot.
I'm sorry, you phase that. You on reflection time?
Yeah, yeah. The reflection time for students, building that into the school day. Is that part of the journey too?
I very much so. I think that for students to self-assess and reflect on where they are in their learning and what their steps they need to take are, opened such a great window for teachers to be able to see what does the student recognize and what are they not seeing. Because one thing we may think the student is doing very well, the student may see that themselves that they're honestly struggling with it. And so then those conversations can happen, and maybe just the encouragement of the student, no, you're doing this right, then they are able to just continue on and keep building faster and faster.
Excellent, excellent. So, and obviously we know it's not just helping students and supporting them. I mean, obviously the predominant stakeholder that we're working with, but families are another stakeholder that we need to keep in our minds as well with the differentiation journey. How can schools inform and even involve families in the journey of differentiation for their children? What do we do there?
I think having interactive parent nights, for one, when they're able to come into the school, see the learning and be part of that learning process, having open door policy where the parents are invited into the school. Maybe you live in an area where that happens, or maybe their parents aren't able to come in that often. And taking projects home to share with their family, to collaborate with their family on. And I think just involving them in the process as much as we want to with the product is important.
Right, right. Because if it's just the finished product, then we don't ever get, the family doesn't get to see the process, which can involve errors and mistakes, right? Like that's valuable too.
Mm-hmm.
We know that you're not going to make a mistake on this last question at all, because I mean, you're going to knock it out of the park because you're a master of metaphors. I can already tell. So, because like I said, the journey of the metaphor journey is just, you know, stellar. So here's one that's related to it. Okay, you ready? It's a food one. If differentiation was a food for middle level education, what kind of food would it be and why, Kelsey?
I think if it was a food for middle level education, one that comes to mind, which is popular with kids, especially the middle level, is with pizza. Any type of food that you can personalize for the consumer is going to be able to be related to differentiation. For example, the foundation or the crust. While every pizza has a crust, not all crusts are the same. You've got some that are gluten-free. You've got thin crust, pan-sized. What else they have? Stuffed crust. All learners have the same foundations, but not all of them are the same. There is something they're starting with, but all of them are different. And then, you know, you've got various sizes. There's mini, there's extra large. It's what about that learner do you know? Toppings and sauces. Pizzas can have so many different sauces, from doing Alfredo sauces to marinara to having chicken on to having different vegetables on there. And so I think that's where the students are the same way. You're going to have some groups that like that marinara sauce, and you're going to have other groups that like Alfredo. So that's where their flexible grouping comes in to meeting where those there's learners' needs are. I think it's important to remember that within those groups, though, once they are grouped, that they're going to all want different toppings. Not every kid who picked marinara sauce is going to want pepperoni on their pizza, or anchovies, or pineapples, or Canadian bacon. So that's where they're going to take that information, access it, and learn from it. I think it's our job to provide them with those learning opportunities or various toppings so they're able to create the end product using their own tools. And of course, you know, baking time, some can take longer than others to cook.
That's very true, and we can't get too frustrated as the cooks in the kitchen when that crust doesn't rise and bake time that others do. That's wow, you really took that one to like next level metaphor, Kelsey. That was like top shelf stuff, right? And of course, you know, a pizza you can carry in the car with you, so it goes right along with your metaphor of, you know, differentiation as a journey, you know. So well done, well done. I'm not surprised. So, well, gosh, Kelsey, thank you so much for this conversation about differentiation and closing that gap. It's such a critical conversation, one that obviously you've taken the time to write great thoughts and insights into that, and of course the conversation today. So thank you so much for your time and effort.
Well, thank you for having me. And the main thing I want people to remember is that differentiation isn't a right or wrong way of doing anything. It's truly just a personalization of learning.
It's just a personalization of, is that what you said? I'm sorry, you kind of cut out there.
Yes, it's not, I mean, it's not black or white. It's just truly personalizing the learning for the students, so don't be afraid to try it.
Excellent. Well, sorry that you had to say it twice there,
No,
but it sounded great. Good. So thank you so much again for writing the article and for the interview today. And thank you everyone out there, AMLE members, for checking out the article and checking out this interview here at AMLE. We help you reach every student, grow professionally, and create great schools. Thanks again, Kelsey.
thank you.
All right. And I can get my cursor to cooperate.